Hello, this is Corey Sulian, and I pastor the Hopewell Baptist Church of Longmont, Colorado. I'm here today to give you a testimony of what God has done in my life concerning soul winning. 35 years ago in 1987, I went soul winning for the first time. When I went soul winning, I used to just go with my pastor, and I was his silent partner. And I would always listen to him as he would present the gospel and as he would tell others about Jesus, invite them to church. And I loved it. I really had a good time. I remember on this summer day, it was probably July of 1987, and I showed up for the church-wide soul winning time, fully expecting to go soul winning with my preacher. And he had another partner. And I went up to him afterwards and I said, "Well, you got another partner? What about me?" And he said, "Well, God's called you to preach. Why don't you just go out and go knocking on doors yourself? Bye." And so I kind of got thrown into it. And so I went a block away from the church and just started knocking on doors. I remember I met this elderly lady. I don't remember a whole lot about her. I remember she answered the door. I introduced myself and I shared with her the gospel tract and said, "I'd like to invite you to church." And then I said, "Did anybody ever show you from the Bible how you can know for sure that you'll go to heaven?" And she said no. And I asked her if I could show her, and she said yes. I was so nervous. I had my Bible open, my hands were shaking. I'm sure I stuttered a lot, but I got through it. And she was so sweet. I asked her at the end of the presentation if she'd like to pray and ask the Lord to save her, and she said yes. And we got to pray together, and she prayed and received the Lord as her Savior. And boy, was I ever bit. That was the day that God said to me, "You need to be a soul winner." And I was in, hook, line, and sinker. I loved it. I went back to the church. I was so thrilled. That was the very first soul that I had ever led to Christ. I went off to Bible college, and when I was there, I was a weekly soul winner. I'd go out every week, and went to Bible college for a year in Wisconsin. Then I went 3 years at Hyles-Anderson, and I graduated. Then I went another year looking for a wife. I found one. Then I got married, and then my wife had 2 years to go. So I stayed at college and let her graduate. And then in 1994, my wife and I moved to Longmont, Colorado, and we established the Hopewell Baptist Church of Longmont, Colorado. I was a weekly soul winner. I went every single week. I'd go 1, 2, 3 times a week. On a rare occasion, we'd have a soul winning marathon, and I'd go soul winning every day for 7 days. But in 2001, I went to a preacher's conference in California, and I heard Dr. David Gibbs preach a message entitled "Get Out of the Boat." And in that sermon, he talked about Peter walking on water. He went through the whole background of the story. The disciples saw Jesus walking on the water. They didn't know who it was. Jesus said, "Be of good cheer, it is I." And Peter said, "If it really is you, bid me come on the boat, come out of the boat on the water with you." And so he did. He said, "Come on out, Peter." Peter started walking on water. Dr. Gibbs then, during the course of the message, talked about different times that different people in different ways walked on water, figuratively speaking, when it comes to the ministry. They did something that seemed impossible to do. One of the illustrations he gave was there was a preacher down in Florida who, at that time, went soul winning every single day for 7 years and got to see at least one person saved every single day for 7 years. God spoke to my heart. He said, "You could do that." I said, "No, I can't. I can't do that. I can't see somebody saved every single day the rest of my life. Come on, Lord, that's impossible." And so I did not surrender that day. But I did order the sermon on CD. When I got home, I listened to it. I listened to it again and again and again, probably 20 times. I listened to that sermon over a course of about 5 years. Every time I listened to it, I was so intrigued about being a daily soul winner. Then in 2006, I was at a point in my life and in my ministry that I was desperate. I needed something from God in a real way. I went to pastor school and I told the Lord, whatever you speak to me about, I promise I will do it. I will not resist you. I'll do whatever you tell me to do. Monday night, God did not speak to me. All day Tuesday night, all the sessions, the preaching, God did not speak to me. All day Wednesday, the sessions, nothing. Wednesday night, I went to the evening service, and Dr. Gibbs stood up to preach, and he read the passage of Peter walking on the water, and he gave his title, Get Out of the Boat. Right then, I knew what God wanted me to do. God wanted me to be a daily soul winner. I could have gone down the altar right then, didn't have to listen to the sermon. I had the sermon memorized, but I waited till the sermon was over, the invitation began, and I walked the aisle, and I promised God I'd be a daily soul winner. That was March of 2006. I came home from pastor school. I remember sitting in my car on Meadow Street saying, Lord, this is it. This is the first day of me being a daily soul winner for the rest of my life. And I said to God, Lord, if you'll allow me, I'd like to see someone saved every day for the rest of my life. I got out of my car and I went door knocking. I led my first soul to Christ in this daily soul winning venture. That was 16 and a half years ago. To God be the glory. Every single day that I have gone soul winning, I have prayed with at least one person about their salvation. Now, there were a few periods of time that I didn't go soul winning. It was all health related. I got COVID twice. I got pneumonia once. I broke a leg, and I couldn't go some of that time that my leg was healing. And with the exception of those few times, and literally it wasn't very, very much, I went soul winning every day and have. I went soul winning today. I got to see an 18-year-old young man saved on the sidewalk. I knocked doors and got to lead a 78-year-old lady to the Lord. And the Lord's been good every single day. I can think of no better life to live than the life of a soul winner. Now, you say, preacher, what motivates you? I'll tell you, there's one thing that motivates me, and it's this. Hell is real. It really is. Think about that. Every single person who dies without Christ as their Savior will spend eternity in hell. That's a moving thought. That scares me. That bothers me. I have long believed, and I have preached many times, that if God would allow every single Christian to spend 60 seconds in hell and then come back, every one of us would be a soul winner. We all will be. If we understood how real and how terrible hell is. Hell is the reason I became a preacher. Hell is the reason that I go soul winning every day of my life. 100 years from now, there's really only going to be two things that matter. Number one, where are you? Did you make it to heaven? Number two, if you did make it to heaven, who did you help to get to heaven with you? Who's going to be in heaven that you shared the gospel with, that you gave them a gospel tract, that you invited them to church and they got saved at church? I can think of no greater things than those two. You making it to heaven and you helping others get to heaven as well. There's nothing else more important than that. Why? Because hell is for eternity. Listen to me. You can be a soul winner. You can. Some of you can be a daily soul winner. You really can. If I can do it, you can do it. You say, oh, you're a preacher. Yeah, I am a preacher, but you know, my personality is not, I'm not naturally an extrovert. I don't naturally just converse with strangers easily. The Lord has helped me to do that. If God has helped me to be a daily soul winner, He can help you to be a daily soul winner. There really was a man named Peter. He really did walk on water. And I believe that story is in the Bible to inspire us that we can do miraculous things with God's help. And one of those things is to be a soul winner. Why don't you get out of the boat and become a soul winner? Why don't you promise God you'll go every week? You'll pass out gospel tracts every day or every chance that you can. Maybe some of you can ask God to help you be a daily soul. I'm going to tell you this right now. You will never regret. When you get to heaven, you'll never regret leading people to Christ. However, when you get to heaven, if you're going to regret anything, it's not sharing the gospel with the lost. You will regret that. Don't let that be your testimony. You can do this. You can be a soul winner. There really is no better way to live. I hope this encouraged you. I will be praying for you, and God bless you.